Hi, everyone. Marianne Croce here from Small Biz Vantage, and I'm really happy to be here today for the 15-minute a weekly training for business and leadership. I think about a different topic every week to come up with, to chat with, to chat and go over everyone with, because I really think that this is a great way for people to get a taste of what business leadership training actually is. For those that don't know me, for those that are on the replay, I am Marianne Croce of Small Biz Vantage, and I coach, advise, and speak to auto shop and skilled trade business owners and leaders with teams. So if you learn a little bit about me, you'll know that I believe right down to my core that businesses grow as owners and leaders grow. And today's topic is getting relief, right? Get some relief from doing it all. And this is a really interesting topic because as I talk to business owners all over the country, local, in different spaces in the automotive and skilled trades, and then business owners that are local that aren't in those industries, they all talk to me about having to do it all, even if they have a team. And the thing about it is, when we think that a team, getting a team is going to kind of solve it all, and we won't have to worry anymore about doing it all because we have a team. And a lot of times it's easy to think that, well, maybe I don't have the right people on my team, or maybe they're not a good fit. That's that's what a lot of people tend to think. But in reality, when it comes to it, we really do have a lot of responsibility, and we play many different roles in our life and in business as owners. So when we break it down and kind of unpack this doing it all, where does it actually come from? So when you think about you being in your business and even in your life, you have a lot of roles and you're responsible for a lot of different things. Besides being a business owner, you may be a parent, a partner, you may be doing some volunteer work, you caregiver. There's a lot of different other roles than business that you're operating in. And it's funny because I remember as a parent when my kids were young, you would hear the term, people would say, oh, things change day to day. And even in our businesses, people would say, oh, things must change day to day. I used to say to people, no, things change hour by hour in my house. But we just have to learn to go with the flow. So when I look back at those times when my kids were younger, a lot of times they, how did I get it all done? But I did. And the same thing applies to business as well, because a lot of times people that aren't in business don't really understand, and they may say, yeah, I can see how things may change day to day. But as we know, things are changing hour by hour. So what I wanted to kind of unpack for you today was the idea of role strain and role conflict. And when we feel like we're having to do everything, a lot of times what happens is, within that role that we're operating in, let's take the role as business owner, you have a lot of responsibilities in that role. You are thinking about the future of your business. You're thinking about goals that you have for the business. You have communication, working with a team and assigning things to a team, and different roles within your company that you're in charge of managing, all of these different things. So what happens is, with all those different responsibilities, it can seem like there's a lot on you. And when you have that, when you feel like you're being pulled in a lot of different directions, that's actually strain of that role. And that can happen, think about it, even like as a student, and a student has homework to do, they have reading to do, they have tests to study for, they may have a project they're working on. And as a student, a person can feel like there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of different activities that I have to do, and they can feel the strain of being a student. There's also another type of strain. It's role conflict, right? So that can cause stress as well. And role conflict is when you have two or more roles in your life and there's a conflict between the two. The responsibilities or the demands are conflicting. And what happens is, let's take an example. As a parent, you may have role, as a parent, you may have to be somewhere for your child. And you also, in work, have something that you're working on, a project. And what happens is now you have two of those things that are happening, and there's a conflict between those two roles. You're not really sure, okay, I have to figure this out. So, an example of this would be, I remember when my kids were younger, my son had come to me and he had a project that was due for school. And he didn't realize that he had to bring the project in the day before it was due for everyone to set up the project. I had an event that I had to go to for the chamber. And it was an important event that I was at because I had joined a leadership training and we had to meet. So we were talking about it the night before, and I had thought to myself, wow, how do I be in two places at the same time? So I explained it to my son and I said, okay, no problem. We're going to work this out. You're going to have to go into school a little bit earlier. So what I ended up doing was driving him into school earlier because they were giving kids extra help early in the morning. So the teachers were there. And he was able to set up his project and he was fine with it. And I arrived actually at the event that I was going to earlier. So it was great. I was able to help them set up and I was able to meet a lot of the people as they actually came in. So it was a win-win for both of us. So those are examples of things that can happen where you have two roles and you feel like you have to address both of the roles at the same time, and it's actually a conflict. And then the last part of this is when you have a role that you feel is your master role. And other people may look at a different role that you have as the master role. So, for example, as a business owner, your customers or clients will see that as your master role, right? That, well, why can't you be there? Or why can't I call you at XYZ time? And then for you, it's like, well, wait a minute. You have to sit back and say, I can't be everything to everyone. And then your family may turn around and say things like, well, this is your main role. Why can't you address my needs first or be there for me? So, what you have to do is sit down and give it some really going through a thoughtful process here and say to yourself, okay, yes, this is my main role. And for some, it may be business owner. For others, it may be parenting. It may be your faith. There's I can't tell you what that is. You have to do it for yourself. There's no right or wrong here. But the idea here is to really sit down and prioritize the activities, the responsibilities, and the activities in each role, and use a calendar to schedule those activities. We do not use our calendar to the best of our ability. It's a great, great tool to sit there because in a calendar, you can not only schedule what you have to do today, but you could schedule things out with technology today. You could schedule things out. Is this something that repeats every month? Is it something that repeats every week? And it's a great way to put those things in your calendar so that there is no oops, I forgot, or you're not there, and you will know things ahead of time because you could look at your calendar in advance. And then if you have to assign it to someone else, if you have to make other arrangements, if you have to reschedule something, you're able to do that because set up reminders, because reminders are great. They'll go off a day before, a week before, whatever works for you with your schedule. It's a great tool to use, and I don't think we use this technology as well as we could. The other thing too is think about the resources that are available to you. We all have the same resources: money, time, people, and our skill set. We all have that. So when we think about that, there are things that you may be able to delegate. You may be able to say to people, this is a great way for you to include them in your process. It could be a team member that wants to grow and learn, and they're really good at something, and you can take it off your plate and you can delegate it. And the idea here is to empower them, to have conversations with them and talk to them about it. And lastly, what I'd like to leave you with is the idea that we are all going to have some type of role strain or role conflict from time to time. It's not something that you're ever going to get rid of because life happens, things happen. But the idea here is not to be operating in that all the time. Talk to somebody who understands what you're going through, because those terms like suck it up buttercup, or you know get through it and deal with it. Those may be temporary fixes to get you through that one situation, but they're not really long-term fixes. And the idea here is that when we get this right, the idea is we're working towards a work-life balance that works for us. And people are now okay. They understand our expectations and their expectations of us, and we're happy with that. So you can really burn yourself out if you're not realistic, with the resources that are available to you. So, that's my tip, is to really go in and get those resources that are right in front of you, use those resources, and reach out to people that you know. So I really look forward to this. I keep them down to 15 minutes, and we're there now. And if you're on the replay and you have any comments, please pop them in. And I look forward to next week's 15-minute training. Have a great, productive week.